What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about Mafia 4 and Hangar 13. Hangar. I don't really know how to say it because it's not ER, it's AR. But anyway, a lot happened yesterday towards like the end of the day. We got Midnight Suns was pushed. We got this that happened, this cancelization. We got a bunch of things that all happened within like 1 hour of each other. I don't know why they all chose to go at a Wednesday afternoon at like 2-3 o'clock my time, whatever time. But basically the idea is, there was a cancelization. Take-Two openly and publicly, admitted or said, they had to say to investors that they canceled a project that was $53 million. They put $53 million into this project, and basically it's going to be a loss, right? They're telling people, hey, we sunk this amount of money into it. We're not going forward with that game anymore. So, we lost that money, okay? Now, the initial, including even myself, like I retweeted or I talked about it on Twitter, the initial thought was that it was Bully 2 because there was talk from Special Nick, he's a leaker online. He's talked about how there was a Bully 2, and Bully 2 was canceled, and he thought maybe that was Bully 2. Now, it's tragic that Bully 2 could have been, it could have came back from the dead just to die again, but then you had Jason Schreier, and I believe even employees of Hangar 13 kind of secretly said stuff to people. It was Hangar 13's game. So if we remember, right, they did the Mafia Definitive Edition, and then after that, we knew they weren't immediately going to work on the next Mafia game because they were making a brand new IP. That was very public knowledge. They said it. Everybody knew it, right? That's what they've been doing for the last little while. Well, that's what seems to have been, if you believe Jason Schreier, which I don't like the guy at all, but I do, trust his knowledge of what people, I guess, just tell him and then he re-says it. That's really all he's good for. But I believe it. I really do believe it. So it's two different things to me. Number one, it is disappointing because I would have liked to see a new thing from them and what they could have done, and it did sound, it was like going to be like a sci-fi, almost like a shooter, like a hunt showdown crossed with maybe Mafia. Like it was going to be really kind of different and yet maybe inspired by things we've already seen before kind of game. And as we can tell from the budget, at least initially what they sunk in, it's a lot of money. $53 million. You probably imagine maybe that doubles by the time the game is over, $100+ million. I mean, that's basically what a AAA game costs nowadays anyway, but it was going to be a pretty big game. So that's the first thing, and that is sad and that's disappointing, and I hope nobody, in terms of like jobs and stuff, the world is messed up as it is. Let's not fire anybody. Let's not sack the studio, please, for the love of God, right? So hopefully everybody's okay there, and that's the disappointing part. On the good side of things, if we look to optimism, if we look to Mafia, which I know is everybody's favorite topic, right? Does this mean Mafia 4 is on? Honestly, I would say yes. I feel like, and now there's a lot of assumptions here, and there's a lot of like ifs, right? If the definitive edition did well overall, and even like the Mafia 1 remake, that was really what they put, I would say, the most effort into, and that's what they had hoped for the best results from, right? If those things did really well, which it seems like they did, but again, these are a lot of assumptions, these are a lot of like guesses, like maybe, well, what if, if they did well, then you'd have to imagine like Mafia 4 is definitely on the table, after this new IP anyway. That's really how I've operated, is when anybody's asked me about Mafia 4, I've said, well, they're making the new IP, but I would imagine Mafia 4 is right after that. You know what I mean? Because maybe they proved with the Definitive Edition that people still want it, and they're talented enough to do it, and, that's going to be the next thing, but they wanted to do something new first. Now, you could argue several things. I'm not saying, by the way, they canceled this game so they could make Mafia 4. Like, they heard the fans, cries out loud, and they're like, Take-Two's like, you know what? Let's just lose $53 million, and let's cancel this game because it was worthless anyway. They want you to make Mafia. We want you to make Mafia. Go make Mafia. There's no way that's what happened. You know what I mean? It's got to have been, that's why I'm kind of worried about them. That had to have been that there were some serious issues. There was promise, there were potential, but it just probably like seemed off to people, like higher ups, and they just didn't have confidence in the project. So I think, it was more of probably a really hard decision in that, this isn't good enough. This isn't what we want it to be. It's too difficult. Maybe it's too ambitious, whatever. But it had to do, I would say, with that game. But the thing is, regardless of the reason why this new IP was canceled, it still leads to, well, what next? Like, unless the studio is shut shut down, which to my knowledge, isn't happening or didn't happen, then they have to work on something new, you know what I mean? And or like the next thing. And if they cancel a new IP, really to me this is an ease, like I'm not gonna say I'm smarter than these executives or I know better than them, but truly this would be one of the easier decisions you have to make. Regardless of why the game was canceled, they now are gameless. They don't have a game that they're working on. If Mafia did well, and they have they have like a history with it, they know how to make Mafia games. Well, people have been asking for 4. It would be a new game, like Mafias do pretty well, and Mafia 3 did pretty well. Obviously the definitive edition was probably a test to see how much people still care, but regardless even of those sales, like Mafia 4 I think would do better than the definitive edition, than the Mafia 1 remake, Mafia 2 definitive edition, like all that stuff. Like Mafia 4 would do better. Just because it's a new game, it would have a lot of press. It would hopefully have like new ideas, and it would look really good to be made for a it'd be made in modern times. Like they'd be ground up. It would be with 2021 technology, right? So like I think it has a lot of advantages. Basically, is what I'm saying, right? So you have all of those things working in your favor. Why wouldn't you say, well, we don't know what to do now? They canceled our game. We'll just go to Mafia 4. So is it willing it into existence? Sure. Do we have any indication that that's the game they'll work on now? No, they could easily work on another new IP. Like that's it's definitely possible. But in my opinion, Mafia is sitting there staring them directly in the face, and now that they don't really have anything else better to do, why not, go to it? And you could even look at it as maybe even like a safe bet. Maybe that's why Take-Two shut it down, where it's like, we're putting a lot of money into this, but it's a new IP, and what if people aren't into it? Mafia has a name. Mafia has a legacy. You know what you know what to expect with it. So I would expect that Mafia 4 would be the next thing that they make. So let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments below. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all of these videos go up. If you want to follow me over on Twitter or subscribe to my second channel or support us on Patreon or YouTube memberships, links for all of them are in the description below. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you all on the next video.